if we think back to the spring, the Ivy League, a day before the NCAA made their announcement, the Ivy League said, we're not going to have any championships in the spring due to the coronavirus. And then one day later, the NCAA wiped out the entire season. To me, this had the feel on some levels of being the precursor to what ultimately will happen, which is pretty much a widespread canceled fall. That said, I do think this is a little bit different, as was pointed out by people as this was circulating the internet yesterday. We know that Power 5 schools need to play football. There's big incentives financially that maybe the Ivy League doesn't have to have football. And in that regard, it's not, you would think it's not quite yet the death knell.
Didn't they have incentives to play basketball though? Didn't they have incentives to play basketball?
You're right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I get that it's a different stage of the virus and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's worse.
Well, I mean, just our understanding of it, though, right? Like, yes, you're right. The number of cases, not with. I know it's hard to separate that from it, but just the fact of like, well, at least we know more about it. I guess that would be one major difference. But
and major sports are coming back, right? Major sports are coming back, but the problem, of course, is, are you going to have these students in class? I mean, that just seems impossible unless you can social distance. Everyone wears a mask. I mean, are you going to have people sharing dorm rooms? Like, so many logistical things that are, it seems impossible right now, given that it's July 9th, and in a month and in 5 weeks, essentially, kids would be going back to campus. You can't introduce whole hosts of people that have been in different places into dorm rooms. You're just asking for an explosion of cases. And we can talk about, the death rate's going down. Well, regardless, I mean, I think we know that anyone with their head screwed on straight knows this is a dangerous virus, and we don't want these outbreaks on college campuses. And that introduces the thing of, how can we possibly have sports if we're not having classes, or if classes are online, people aren't on campus. So those are all the things. Getting back to the Ivy League, they were ahead of the curve last time, and you wonder if people are going to follow suit. And like you said yesterday in your guys' pod, or you and Gordon, the topic of moving cross country to the spring has been broached. Moving fall sports to the spring, and it seems like much more of a real possibility today than it was at the beginning of the day yesterday.
Well, because they could still do it within this academic year. If you're talking about keeping money in football, you could that's still feasible. So if the choice is this or no football, or you start the season and then you have to cancel it midway through, that gets trickier. I think that the struggle and the challenge has always been no sports without campuses open, right? That's what the NCAA has said from the get-go. Those two things were going to work together in tandem. And it seems, of course, like it's going to be an enormous challenge to open up these campuses. And you've seen different universities have different policies about how open they will be to try to get around it. But you also get the feeling of who was going to be the first one to do it. And now it's the Ivy League. Okay, people would say, based on what happened in the spring, that wasn't a surprising development. But I think once we get a second conference, or when we get a second conference, then we're going to see even more momentum for this. Because I know some football programs have had good luck and have had no cases in their groups that have tested that have come onto campus, but that hasn't been the case with everybody. And then what happens in a month or 2 months when there's students there again? How do you do the dorms, the dining halls, et cetera, et cetera? You just look at all the things the NBA is doing to keep their bubble secure. Right. And if that's the standard for what you have to do, that's impossible to meet. Right. It's impossible for every single college campus to meet. That the cost is not worth the they can't pay that cost. Let's just say it's a number. It's not feasible basically for every single college campus to do what the NBA is doing. I was listening